Good afternoon. I'm going to pop that right over there. Good afternoon. Hey, you can be seated. While you're sitting down, say the rest of my life will be the best of my life. All right. How many had a good afternoon? All right, about half of you. How many had a good afternoon? That's a choice, too. We were talking about that this morning. It's all a choice. I choose to rejoice. I choose to make the best of whatever situation, and that's what we're doing. Thanks for coming back tonight. I want to get right into this just because of time, because I want to share something with you. This is something brand new. I just kind of have put it together, so you're the first ones to hear what I'm going to talk about tonight. And I hope you'll enjoy it. It's not like this morning's a little more motivational and that kind of thing. Tonight's going to be a little more teaching. So I hope you got a pen, paper, something ready to write down. This is going to help you, I believe, to really accomplish the things that you desire to accomplish. So I had a graph. I was leaving the hotel today, and the guy at the front there was like, "How you enjoying? Is everything okay with your stay?" I said, "It's great." He said, "Oh, that's wonderful. What else?" I said, "That's this, great." He said, "Well, you don't have anything else to say? Like, was the bed comfortable? I'm like, well, man, there's a lot of details he wants, you know. So I gave him a few things. It reminded me of this story I heard about this young man had joined a monastery. And he joined this particular sect where in the monastery, at his indoctrination, they were sworn to total silence. They weren't allowed to talk or speak. But the head of the monastery said, every 10 years, you're allowed to say 2 words. So he went to, he checked in and got going. After 10 years of silence, the head monk indicated that it was okay for him to speak his 2 words. And he said, what would you like to say? And the monk said, bed hard. And then he resumed his work. Another 10 years passed, and the head monk indicated, well, it's time for him to say something else, another 2 words. You're allowed every 10 years, 2 words. He said, what is it this time? The guy said, food bad. Went back to work, another 10 years. I'm goodness, at the end of the next 10 years, the head monk said, okay, go ahead, anything else? 2 words, what are you going to say? He said, I quit. The head monk kind of shook his head. He said, I knew that was coming. He's done nothing but complain the last 30 years. You have a choice whether to find the positive or the negative in any situation, whether to find the good or the bad. And seriously, I have no complaints. I'm good and excited about today. How many have ever been in a position where you felt like you had failed at something? You've made a mistake at something, and the person who's never made a mistake probably never made anything. We've all made mistakes. We've had setbacks, and some of those mistakes maybe caused us some problems. Maybe a mistake in business, maybe it was a mistake in a relationship, or whatever it may have been. And maybe you were just in a position where you knew you were not at your full potential. And you needed to redo some things, come up with a new plan, a way to come back. This book I wrote, Another Shot. How many got that last time I was here? Anybody here got that book? Oh, my goodness. Well, my goodness, what's wrong with the rest of you? That's the book right there. It's called Another Shot. And I don't have any of the books with me. I do have something I'll tell you about in a little bit. You'll be able to get a copy of it, an ebook copy of it. But I wrote this book. It kind of tells my story of my life. I came from a small town in Mississippi, left Mississippi. I left Mississippi long before Mississippi left me. What I'm saying is I left this small town, although I still had a small mindset. So I left where I was in that little small town, but yet it was a while before I got the mindset to change. And nothing's going to change until you change. And so you got to change your thinking. If you can change your thinking, you can change your life. I never could see myself getting a house like that. Well, don't worry, you won't. I'd love to get a job. They'd never hire me at that job. You're absolutely right. Whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. And so I left there, began my journey, and got some mentors in my life, began to teach me and help me with some things, and I learned and pretty soon put some of those things to practice. And by the time I was 30, I'd made my first $1 million. And I was like, man, this is amazing. I'm excited. I can't believe this. Wasn't long after that till I lost it, lost everything, lost my house and everything else, and I had to start over again. Reset. It's like my little boy and I were playing Pac-Man the other day, the old school Pac-Man, where you sit at the table, and I was destroying him. I was so far ahead, and I'm not going to let him win just because he's 10. He's got He's got to learn you don't always win in life, right? And so I was beating him. All of a sudden, he unplugged the game. He just, whoops, I guess we got to start over. I don't remember the score. And don't you ever wish in life sometimes you could just unplug, go, let's just reset, let's start over again, a mulligan, a do-over. And so I wrote this book, Another Shot, which is all kind of tells my story about coming back or rebounding in life. But really what it does, it tells how I did it, which it kind of gives you a plan. And I think that's so important, and that's what I want to teach about today. I want to focus on how to develop a plan for success, a plan to reach your goal, a plan to win in life. Nothing in life is done well, or that is done well was accomplished without first a little bit of planning, a little bit of preparing for it. So, and most of us don't ever even have a plan for what we're going to do, what we're going to accomplish. And so I'm going to talk to you about 7 reasons you need a game plan for life. Like I said, it's all based on that book, Another Shot. I'll tell you about the little program we have to go with it in just a little bit. I love Evander Holyfield, the boxer, said, had a little quote on the back of the book, which I love. And then I'm telling you this because I want you to hear this quote, not just because I'm trying to brag that I know Evander Holyfield. I'm not a name dropper. I'm just telling you what the 5-time heavyweight world champion said about me in my book. One thing I've learned from spending time with Oprah is that you really shouldn't drop names. But he said, it's not getting knocked down that makes you lose the fight. It's not getting back up. We all get knocked down sometimes, but it's a choice to get back up, to get back in the game. And so that's what we have a choice to do. And so planning is important. I mean, some of you don't even know what you're going to have for dinner tonight. If you haven't had dinner yet, you haven't made a plan. You don't even know where you're going, who you're going with. You haven't even thought about it. Some of you didn't make a reservation, didn't even think about it. I mean, and you're like, well, what are we going to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Where should we go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? How many of you spend a lot of time just trying to decide where to go sometime? I mean, it's just, but if you had a plan, if you knew what you were doing. And so I promise I won't keep you long, but I want you to get this. We'll take, I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe a little less. I'm going to be kind of like a mini skirt tonight. Short enough to keep your attention, but long enough to cover the subject. All right? So let's get into this here. There's a scripture in Habakkuk. Chapter 2. And here's the thing. It says, write the vision, make it plain. So if you don't have a vision, if you don't know where you're going, you can't make it plain. So you don't know where to run. You don't know where to go. The Bible is a collection of champions, of winners, of people who have planned their successes ahead of time. It says in Proverbs, where there is no vision, people perish. So where there's no vision, where you don't know where you're going, where you don't have a plan of what you're trying to do, you're not going to make it. Write the vision, make it plain. Even Jesus was a planner. People said, really? You think Jesus? He said, don't worry about tomorrow. That's right. He said, don't worry about tomorrow. He didn't say, don't plan tomorrow. He just said, don't worry about it. A lot of times people worry. How many of you ever worried about something that didn't happen? Have you ever done that? How many of you ever worried about something you thought it was going to turn out this way and it turned out completely different than you thought? Yeah, we've all had that. Kind of reminds me of this guy. He sat down on a park bench, and he looked over and there was a nun sitting next to him. And he tapped the nun. He said, excuse me, sister. He said, I don't know if this is just a coincidence that you're here and I'm here. He said, but I got to tell you, my entire life, I've always wanted to kiss a nun. The nun looked at him and said, are you crazy? I can't even believe you just asked me that. I'm a nun. He said, you're right, sister. I shouldn't have asked you. I shouldn't have said anything. Please forgive me. I'm sorry. He turned around. A couple minutes later, the nun tapped him on the shoulder, said, excuse me. I mean, if this is your dream and I'm here, I'd like to help. I'd be willing to kiss you on 2 conditions. Number 1, you got to be Catholic. He said, that's perfect. I'm Catholic. She said, okay. Number 2, you got to be single. He said, I'm single. The nun said, okay, fine. So he laid a big one right on the nun. As soon as he got done kissing the nun, he started laughing. The nun said, what's so funny? He said, well, I got to admit, I lied to you. He said, I'm actually Baptist. He said, and I'm married. All of a sudden, the nun started laughing. He said, what do you think so funny? The nun said, actually, my name's Kevin. And I was just on my way to a costume party. So what I'm saying is sometimes things turn out completely different than you thought, right? So don't worry about tomorrow. Don't worry. Tomorrow will take care of itself. So you can find all the kind of things in the Bible. Solomon you can look in the third and fourth chapters of Second Chronicles. He had a plan to build the temple. He had details, quite detailed plan. Noah had a plan for the ark. Moses had a plan for the tabernacle. God even had a plan for offerings. You can read about it in Leviticus. So as I travel around the world, I see a trend that is, I think is really very interesting. And I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of people and work with a lot of people. And I'm always interested in people's outlook on life, how they see things or how they look at things. And what I've observed are some common patterns with people. And this doesn't describe everyone. It won't describe everyone in this room, but it might describe some people. A tendency to a lot of people have these kind of thoughts. You know, we plan our food, but we don't really plan our finances. You've heard people say, you know, they planned the wedding, but they didn't really plan the marriage. We plan our weekends, but we don't plan our will. And we plan Labor Day, but we don't plan our legacy. And when you think about it, we plan our kids' college, but we don't plan their character. We make time for games, but not for goals. We take annual vacations, but we don't have a life vision. And when you think about it, I truly believe it all comes back to planning. Planning is critical. Planning is critical to live a fulfilled life, to live I call it the ultimate life. We're talking about the ultimate life seminar. Ultimate means the best. Life is a way of living, so the ultimate life would be the best way of living. So to have a real ultimate life, a fulfilled life, I think you've got to have a plan. I mentioned it this morning. You can go here to the airport. There's planes flying all over the world, but until you decide where you want to go, you're still going to be at the airport. They don't sell your ticket based on where you're at. They sell your ticket based on where you're going. So you got to know where it is. You got to have a plan of where you want to go. And if you want to be able to one day look back over your life and know that you've accomplished what you were put on the earth to do, then you've got to have a plan. How many want to fulfill what you were called to do? What you were put on the earth to do. And no, it doesn't matter what you were called to do. You may be called to be the best lawyer in town. You may be called to be a mechanic. You may be called to be a pastor. We're all called, no matter what it is you do. You may be called to be a salesperson. Whatever it is you do, you're anointed and called to do that. And so you want to be the very best at what it is that you do. And so that's where this all comes in. This quote here, planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it. That's really all it is bringing the future into the present so you can do something about it. If you just wait till you get there and it show up, say, well, we'll see what happens. Whatever happens, happens, we'll see. No, but you go in and you bring that back here. Now, okay, let's plan what it's gonna look like. So I know what it's going, when I get there, I've already designed what it's gonna be when I get there. Planning is a way to help control your future. You got to live beyond your lunch plans, you know. You got to, how about just beyond this year? How about when your kids leave for college or beyond when you retire from your job? What are you going to do? How are you going to manage? What have you done of significance, or what do you want to do? And all that needs a plan. So some of you have thought about these milestones maybe a little bit. I don't want you to worry about them, but I want you to think about them, at least be a little concerned about it. Winston Churchill. How many have ever heard of Winston Churchill? Anybody ever read any of Winston Churchill? If you never read any of his stuff, he's a great leadership stuff, some great leadership stuff. I encourage you to read it. But he's just an incredible leader. I was reading a story about him the other day. He was at a party one night, and a lady was at the party looked at him and said, "Mr. Churchill, if you were my husband, I would poison your drink." He looked at her and said, "If you were my wife, I would drink it." I read another story one time. The lady said, "Mr. Churchill, you, sir, are drunk." He said, "Yes, and ma'am, you are ugly." He said, "The thing is, tomorrow I will be sober." Anyway, here's what Winston Churchill said. He said, "Let our advanced worrying become advanced thinking and planning." How about instead of worrying about the future, you start to plan your future? How about instead of worrying about the business you're starting, what if you start planning it and see the difference that it makes? And I believe he knew what he was talking about because he was a master planner. He planned an incredible attack, which brought an incredible victory to the armies, and history honors him for his planning. So we too, I believe, have to be masterful at planning, and otherwise life happens to us and it happens around us. But what if you're going to live in the future, so why not live in the future you plan? I mean, I live in a house today that I planned a long time ago. I knew what my pool was going to look like. I knew, so when it was easy for me to design because I'd already planned it ahead of time. So now I'm just living in the future that I planned a while back. How many understand what I'm saying? So I read this article recently in Forbes magazine about why people feel lost in their lives. You know, I think it was the Wall Street Journal said 52% of Americans hate their jobs. 52% of people in America get up, probably if I ask you here, probably 50% of you either hate your job, don't like your job, rather be doing something else. 52% of people in America hate their jobs. That means they're doing things they don't like, getting up, doing things they don't want to do. A guy the other day came up to me and said, I hate my job. You're right. I said, how long have you worked there? He said, 27 years. I said, my goodness, why would you work somewhere 27 years if you hate it? He said, well, I didn't hate it the whole time. I said, how long have you hated it? He said, 26 years. I said, why would you keep working there? He said, well, it's close to my house. It's just real easy to get. And it's amazing how many people just do things that are easy or convenient. It's not what they love. My doctor, Dr. Don Colbert, some of you may have heard of him. He's a medical doctor. He's a big New York Times best-selling author and that kind of thing. But he didn't start out that way. He started out as a family doctor. He had a family practice. And I asked him one day, I said, you don't do that anymore. You don't have a family practice. Why don't you do that anymore? He goes, well, I didn't like it anymore. I said, what do you mean you didn't like it? You're a doctor. You went to school for a long time to be a doctor. You can't just not like it. He said, I didn't like it. He said, life's too short to keep doing stuff you don't like. I said, so you just quit? He said, yeah, I quit. I said, what'd you do? He said, I started doing plastic surgery. I had no idea. I said, really? He said, yeah, I did plastic surgery for a while. I said, you don't do that either? He said, no, I didn't like that either. I said, so you just quit? He said, yeah, life's too short to do stuff you don't like. He said, I did hair transplants for a while. I said, seriously? You got a card? He said, I don't do that anymore either. Now he writes books, is holistic, and writes books to help people with their health and that kind of nutritionist, that kind of thing. And he loves it. He loves what he does. He's been doing it a long time. He loves what he does. So when you discover what it is you love, I mean, if you look, LeBron James loves basketball. Basketball rewards him. When you're doing what you love rewards you. Bill Gates loves computers. Computers reward him. Tiger Woods loves golf and some other stuff, but that kind of got him in trouble. But anyway, when you're doing the things that you love, the things that you love reward you. So how do you find that? Forbes magazine talked about people that felt lost in their lives. And I think this article kind of gives us the reason, but it was called the drift syndrome. And here's what it says. He says, the article said, when we can't figure out why we're doing what we're doing or how we ended up working in the job we're working, a sense of drift settles in. It seems that instead of planning out our career, we drifted along the tides and eventually found ourselves here doing this. Just kind of happened upon it, and here perhaps we had a plan, but the lack of follow through with the plan or life's hard knocks changed the plan, and we just kind of drifted along. The truth is most of us drift to some extent in whatever it is we're doing, and how precious and no precious few people who planned out every step and were able to remain untouched by the chaos of living to go precisely where they wanted to go. So nonetheless, the feeling of drift is an emotional trigger for a feeling of lost. So some of us, we kind of ended up here and there, and we just kind of ended up, well, this is what we do. How'd you end up doing that? You know, I don't really know how I got here. I just kind of ended up, you didn't plan when you were a kid that this is what I'm going to do, or this is what you just kind of ended up here, and so people go through the life, so they don't have this planning. And look at this slide here. I love this. Two principles that have really helped me greatly. The next slide, they have that next one. Planning cannot replace praying. And secondly, praying does not replace planning. So you need both, but planning cannot replace praying. I mean, I'm just praying. I'm just believing God's all going to work out. Just praying. Yeah, I'm just praying. You know, there's a lot of people out. The wealth of the sinners laid up for the righteous. Just praying I'm going to get some money. I don't think God's going to take Bill Gates' money and give it to some lazy Christian just sitting home praying all day. Okay, y'all didn't like that. Okay, I got some. Let me get another joke. Hold on. Now, you got to work. Faith without works is dead. You have to do something. Sometimes people would tell you, "Well, I'm just praying." Soon they realize that's all they're doing is praying. And God intends for us to come to Him. We got to do that. But He also expects us to get busy doing our part. I mean, nothing's going to happen. It's going to take hustle. It's going to take work. It's going to take getting out there and doing something. I mean, like I said, we think a lot of times Christians, we just pray and God will show up and we just need some intercessors and it'll all be just fine. And I believe in prayer. It's not what I'm saying. But if intercessors could change everything, I mean, my goodness, Disney World would hire intercessors to help grow their, It takes both. It takes both. Planning cannot replace praying, and praying cannot replace planning. See, as Christian business people, I feel like I've got a business partner that Ted Turner doesn't have, Bill Gates doesn't have, Donald Trump, whoever. I've got the Holy Spirit that leads me and guides me in my planning. So that prayer is important. He'll take me to the right client, the right person, the right day. Because if anybody in sales in here, anybody do sales? But a few people in sales. All right. Any entrepreneurs? Anybody own your own business? Business owners. Let me see your hand. Okay, got some business owners. All right. Any managers? Anybody in management? Okay, got some managers in here. All right. How about a job? Anybody just got a job? Let me see your hands. Okay, good. Reminds me of this company was trying to bring some diversity to the company, and they had a little meeting. Said, we need a little diversity. What do you think? And they were trying to decide what they could do. And one guy said, you know what? I just met this group of cannibals that are looking for a job. He said, that'd be diverse. We've never had cannibals. What do you think? He said, man, I don't know about hiring cannibals. That's kind of crazy. They said, well, we'll just give them free access to the cafeteria. All the free food they want. That way they won't eat any people. So they decided to give them a job. They hired this group of cannibals, put them to work. And after about a month, they said, look, we're going to give you all the benefits, everything you want, even free access to the cafeteria. All we ask is that you just don't eat any of the people. So a month had gone by and everything was going great. And all of a sudden they realized they were missing an executive assistant. So they called the cannibals in. They said, hey, listen, guys, we're missing an assistant and we're wondering if one of you ate her. They're like, no, we didn't do it. No, we hadn't done it. They said, look, we're glad to have you. You guys have been great. I mean, quality control's up, production's up, everything's up, sales. You guys have been doing a fabulous job. We're so happy to have you. But we're missing this assistant. You sure? None of you? No, I didn't do it. None of them would admit it. So the guys, well, all I could do was ask. So the head of the cannibals, he goes, listen, guys, come on. We have never had this kind of job. We've never had this opportunity. We can't mess it up. Seriously, who ate the assistant? Finally, one of them admitted it was me. He said, why in the world would you do that? He said, listen, we have been here for a month eating managers and no one's even noticed. Okay, I'm kidding, managers. I'm kidding. What was I talking about? How did I even get on all that? I don't know. Diversity, faith. Anyway, I don't even know how I got there. So let's just move on. So you're going to have to work. You're going to have to work the plan. We got the plan. We know where we're going. Oh, it's talking about the Holy Spirit being your partner. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. And see, he leads me right to that joke. Did you like that? And so he'll lead you in your business. You can consult him. It's a business partner, like I said, other people don't have. And so we have that ability as Christian business people, entrepreneurs, salespeople. That's where I was, salespeople. How many salespeople know that you could call on someone one day and they're like, no, I'm not interested. You can call on 2 weeks later and they're like, oh, yes, I've been waiting for you. How many know what I'm talking about? Yeah, because different things are happening in their life and their business. Some days they just can't focus. So I believe the Holy Spirit is, with salespeople, can lead us to the right day, the right time, the right person. You're going to call on that person this day. The Holy Spirit says, no, wait till tomorrow. You don't know what they're facing that day, what's going on in their business. If you try to see them then, no, can't see it. No, next day, might just walk right in the door. Matt Burnett that produced The Voice, Mark Burnett, Celebrity Apprentice, all that kind of stuff. He was telling me how the whole thing with Celebrity Apprentice happened. He had this idea, or just the apprentice. He had this idea, and he had landed in New York. He landed in New York and he called Donald Trump's office. He had this idea. He wanted to try to meet with him for this idea for The Apprentice. And he said he didn't have any clue how he'd get a hold of him, but he's going to be in town for a week. He said when he called the office, Donald actually picked up his secretary's phone. And he said, I'd like to talk to you. I got this idea for a show. He said, is there any time you could meet over the next week? He said, what are you doing now? And Mark said, I'm just landed. He said, well, Have your car bring you right here. And it just at the right moment, the right time, he picked up the phone. He drove straight there, just got off a plane for flying somewhere internationally, and they came up with the whole deal and did the apprentice right like that. If he'd have called another day, another time, might have got someone different, had to wait for this, wait for that, and never even got to him or whatever it may have been. But when you're listening to God, the right time, the right place, he puts you in the right position. So let me give you these 7 reasons you need a game plan for life. And I believe it's critical that we understand the importance of this plan and that we make planning part of our thinking. And as we look at all 7 of these things, keep in mind that all of our planning should be covered with prayer. The prayer would lead us in all this stuff. And at the same time, we can't expect God to grant our request if all we're doing is praying and never having a plan or a vision of where we want to go. All right? You with me? All right, number 1, first thing, of the 7 reasons, planning is scriptural. Well, we just told you about that. Solomon had a plan. Noah had a plan. Jeremiah 29, verse 11 says, the Bible says, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. 2 Kings 19 says, have you not heard long ago I ordained it? In the days of old I planned it, and now I brought it to pass. Psalms 33, but the plans of the Lord stand forever. You see, God has plans for every one of us. God has plans for you, for your business, to prosper you, to help you to succeed. And if God makes plans, don't you think we should do the same? I mean, we're created in his image. We're trying to be more like him. And so planning is important. It reminds me of a couple, they had planned their vacation. And they had everything planned. I mean, all the details, they were ready to go. The night before they were about to take off for vacation, the wife's boss calls and says, look, we just had a big meeting come up out of the blue, but I need you to be at the office in the morning. She said, well, I've already planned my vacation. Everything's planned. We've got flights. We're leaving tomorrow. We planned this thing for a long time. And the boss said, look, if you plan to keep your job, you'll be there in the morning. And so she talked to her husband. She said, I don't want to lose my job. We can't lose the job. But he said, well, we don't want you to lose your job. He said, look, how about this? You go ahead and go to that meeting in the morning, and I'll go with the plans. I'll fly on down to Florida. They were from up in Chicago. And he said, I'm going to fly on down to Florida. They're going just to vacation a little bit. He said, you know, that first day of vacation, you pick up the rental car, and you check into the condo, and you get the little groceries or whatever, water and stuff. So it takes, he goes, I'll take care of all that stuff. You do your meeting, and then just get the flight the next morning, fly on down. We'll have a great vacation. So that's what they agreed to do. So the husband got down there and got everything all situated. That night he sent his wife an email just to let her know he was there and everything was okay. Well, when he typed her email address, he got one of the letters wrong in her email address. I mean, no big deal, just a little mistake. How many know sometimes little mistakes can cause big problems? Yeah, so when you got a wrong letter and an email address, how many know it goes to the wrong person? So he just sent it. And it went to this little lady in Wisconsin. She just got home from the funeral and her husband had died, and she was checking her email. All of a sudden, this email pops up, says, hello, honey. Just wanted you to know I arrived safely. She passed out. Her son came in and said, Mom, what's wrong? She said, the email, read the email. Her son went over and read the email, said, hello, honey. Just wanted you to know I arrived safely. Everything's prepared for your arrival tomorrow. It said, P.S., it sure is hot down here. Anyway. Let me show you this story in Genesis chapter 41. Talk about planning, this Bible story. It's one we all know and we love. It's about the life of Joseph. And we pick up the story right after Joseph. How many have ever heard the story of Joseph? I mean, know the story. Right after the story, Joseph was out of prison, and he was brought before to stand before Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to interpret a dream that Joseph had. This morning we talked about one of the ways to increase your favor is to solve a problem for someone. Because that's what problem solving, you're rewarded in life for the problems you solve. Money's not a mystery, it's a reward for solving problems. That's why a garbage man may get $15 an hour, a lawyer gets $250 an hour. Why? They solve two different kinds of problems. If I can paint this wall taupe or whatever that is, I might get $12 an hour. But if I can paint that wall, make it look like marble, Like a faux painter, I might get $50 an hour. You're rewarded for the problems you solve. And I can wash windows and get $10, $15 an hour. But if you want me to hang off the side of a skyscraper and watch the 19th floor, you're going to have to pay me a little bit more than that. I mean, understand what I'm saying? So you're rewarded for the problems that you solve. And so here we got Pharaoh, Joseph solving a problem. This problem he solved brought him great favor. He interpreted a dream for Pharaoh. And if you don't know the whole background, we don't have time to get into that. I encourage you maybe read it later tonight or something there in Genesis 41. It's a great story. I mean, it's a story of favoritism and jealousy and anger and lying and betrayal and imprisonment and dreams and forgiveness and redemption and love. And that's a lot. That sounds like a 50 Shades movie or something. That's what. Y'all haven't ever seen that, have you? I'll pray for you right now. But the Bible has some great stories, doesn't it? I mean, it's amazing. I met a guy the other day, and he was driving me, and we were talking, and he was telling me about his first Bible. 20 years ago, he said he met this girl he started dating at church, and he had just got saved. He goes, I knew nothing. I was from a non-church, I knew nothing. And she gave me this book. She goes, you should read this book. It's a great book. And gave him a book. About 2.5 weeks later, he said he came back. He said, that was a great book. I enjoyed it. What should I read next? And it was a Bible. He didn't know. He thought it was just some book he was supposed to read. He read the Bible in 2.5 weeks. He goes, this was great stuff. What other book should I read? It is a Message Bible. I mean, that's amazing. Some of you haven't read the whole Bible. You've been saved for years. But when you look at it like that, it's just a book of amazing stories that will help us, true stories. But just before that passage, we read that Pharaoh had this dream, and 2 dreams on the same night. In one of the dreams, there were 7 skinny cows that came up out of the Nile River and ate 7 fat cows. But the 7 skinny cows didn't get any bigger after they ate the 7 fat cows. That was one of the stories. Every time I read that, skinny cows, I think of them skinny cow ice cream. Yeah. Getting a little hungry right now thinking about that. But then the other dream was 7 fat ears of corn being swallowed by 7 thin ears of corn. And here's the thing, none of the astrologers or dream diviners or magicians or anybody could interpret the dream. Then this cupbearer remembered this foreign slave that was in prison, Joseph, and said, hey, he interprets dreams, and because he was faithful to God, God's favor was on him. And through all these fascinating events, they recommended he come to Pharaoh. He interprets the dream for Pharaoh. And after all that, we pick it up in Genesis 41:28. And it says that God had shown Pharaoh what he was about to do. 7 years of great abundance are coming and throughout the land of Egypt. But then 7 years of famine are going to come after that. And all of the abundance in Egypt will be forgotten about, and the famine will ravage the land. The abundance in the land will not be remembered because the famine that follows it will be so severe. And the reason the dream was given to Pharaoh in the 2 forms was the matter that had firmly decided by God that this was definitely what God was going to do, and God was going to soon do it. Now, if you notice, Joseph didn't pause for a second. He just kept going. If you read the story, he just kept going right in. He goes, now look, Pharaoh, look at for a discerning and wise man to put in charge of the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh, let Pharaoh appoint commissioners over the land to take 1/5 of the harvest during the season, the 7 years of abundance. They should collect all the food and during the good years that are coming and store it up under the authority of Pharaoh to keep in the cities for food, and the food would be reserved and be ready and all that kind of stuff. So here's what we had. So he goes, here's the problem. We're going to have a famine. We're going to have great 7 years of abundance, but then 7 years of famine, and that's the problem. The solution is we're going to store up some of this stuff, and we'll take part of all of it. We'll store it up, and then there was a plan how we're going to distribute it. It was amazing. Right there, you saw the whole thing: the problem, the famine, the solution. Save up some food, and then the plan. Verse 46 through 49. Pharaoh puts Joseph in charge of creating the solution, and then he comes up with the plan of how they'll store up these quantities and be able to keep record and be able to spread it back out over the 7 years of famine. So I love how God included the details of the plan. I believe all this is showing us every principle for success is in the Bible. I mean, time management, it's all throughout Proverbs. Procrastination. Anybody ever procrastinated? Anybody? Okay. Some people just now raising their hand. Yeah, I do. I was going to write a book on procrastination. I just never got around to it. Okay, so negotiation. Anybody ever negotiated? Anybody ever had to negotiate something? You know, the Apostle Paul was an incredible negotiator. I'm working on a thing right now, 7 Secrets of Negotiation, all from the life of the Apostle Paul. He was an amazing negotiator. And so all this is in the Bible. So planning, I believe God showed us all the parts of it because he wants us to know that this is a scriptural thing. It's an important thing for us to have plans for our life and plans for our future. Number 2, second thing, planning will put you in a better position. Without a plan in place, the nation of Israel would have experienced a great tragedy during those 7 years of famine. And in your own life, planning will put you in a much better position than you would be moving forward with no plan. If you have a plan, you're going to be in a much better place than if you just are kind of walking like, oh, we'll see where we end up, what happens. And so whenever you plan to succeed, right? How many of you have ever made a plan for something? Okay, when you made that plan, how many planned for it to turn out good on the other end? You didn't plan for something bad to happen, did you? You didn't plan, no, you always plan to succeed. So it's not a surprise that planning will eventually lead to better success and put us in a better position in the market, with your brand, with your product, with your life, whatever it may be. And any of your goals can have more chances for success with proper planning. So we want to have better chances for success in our business, in our life, whatever. So it's real easy. Make a plan, and it puts you in a better position. CEOs of thriving companies know this. I was reading about a CEO of a major corporation that invested the first hour of every day in meticulous planning of the 24-hour day. I do some speaking for Mary Kay Cosmetics. And one of the things Mary Kay would do every day is she would plan her day. She'd take the first 15 minutes of every day to plan her day. 6 things she wanted to do every day, and then she would prioritize those 6 things in the order of importance. She never did number 5 till she did 1 through 4. She never did number 2 till she did number 1. She planned, she prioritized, and then she worked the plan. And it's amazing what greater success. So this CEO would take an hour every morning to plan the next 24 in detail on paper, and it brought a much greater success. Chrysler, how many have ever heard of Lee Iacocca? The former, the one that helped bring the turnaround, legendary head of Chrysler. He said that one of his greatest mentors insisted that he always had written plans, and he wrote those plans in detail on paper, helped him consider them. Anyone can get carried away in a climate of conversation. Let's do this and let's do that. Oh, I got this idea, and we can come up with all these ideas, but unless we have a detailed plan on paper, facts arise that we didn't know, previously hidden facts. We find out problem areas emerge. When you write down the plan, all of a sudden you start seeing where the holes in the plan are and how you can fix them. I mean, weaknesses become obvious. Anything cloudy becomes clear. Questions can be answered. And then you have a clarified plan, and you're in a much greater position for success. Does that make sense to you? Right? And so sometimes we think we need to get ourselves all together, get everything perfect in our lives before we can get planning to position ourselves correctly first, and then we can develop a plan, and we can make our plan, then the Lord can use it and all that thing. But I don't think that's how it really works. I mean, you probably heard the quote, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. I mean, get started doing something. Some people are waiting until everything is all perfect in their life, perfect in their business, perfect in their home before they go and try to do something big. But hey, a good plan today is better than doing nothing, right? Waiting for a perfect plan tomorrow, because God can use you just how you are. Well, you don't understand. I failed, I messed up. And the next time you feel like a failure, how many of you ever felt like a failure? Yeah, my goodness, we all have had things. That's why I talk about the ways to see yourself, and you have 3 ways to see yourself. You can see yourself how other people see you, which may be good, may not be good. What other people think about you is really none of your business. We're worrying about what everyone else thinks. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." The second way to see yourself is how you see yourself. I mean, we all had things happen to us, done to us that could affect our self-esteem. I can think of a lot of things in life. One time in high school, a girl broke up with me. She said, I'm breaking up with you. You got low self-esteem. I was like, great, that helped. Another time in high school, this girl called me. She goes, hey, come over to my house. Nobody's home. I went over there, and there was nobody home. That's hurtful, that hurt. That's damaging to your self-esteem. Anyway, but if you can see yourself the way God sees you, the third way to see yourself is to see yourself the way God sees you. Man, if you could get a picture if you could have not just a confidence, but a Godfidence. Not just knowing who you are, but whose you are. My goodness, that'll make all the difference in the world. But you can look all throughout the Bible, see these people that maybe felt like failures. And how's God ever going to use me? And look, some of the greats in the Bible. Noah was a drunk. You start thinking God can't use you. Abraham was too old. He's 100 years old. God said, you're going to have children. His wife's 90. He's like, seriously? I don't see that happening. I don't see that being possible. I don't see Alice. I don't see it. Okay. Anyway, Abraham was too old. Isaac was a daydreamer. Some of y'all get down the way home. Isaac was a daydreamer. Jacob was a liar. Joseph was abused. Moses was a stutterer. Gideon was afraid. Leah was ugly. The Bible said that. I'm just repeating the Bible. Samson had long hair. Rahab was a prostitute. David had an affair, was a murderer. Elijah was suicidal. Jonah ran from God. Naomi was a widow. Job went bankrupt. Peter denied Christ. Isaiah preached naked. Hopefully he had a solid pulpit. That'd be distracting. The disciples fell asleep while they were praying with Jesus. Think about this. The Samaritan woman was divorced more than once. Zacchaeus was too small. Paul was too religious. Timothy had an ulcer. Lazarus was dead. Talk about a comeback. My goodness. Remember what God told Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 16. The Lord does not see things the way that you see them. People judge by outward appearance. The Lord looks at the heart. So the difference maker in life that I just mentioned was that God has a plan for every person. God has a plan for each one of us. And if you're willing to follow his plan, he'll help you, put you in a better position. So the second one, planning puts you in a better position. The third thing about planning is essential. Planning is essential. Making plans will cause you to act rather than to react. A lot of us go through our whole life reacting to whatever happens that day, whatever comes up that day. Planning makes us effective. What if the Egyptians had said, oh no, bad times are coming. This isn't good. We're going to be in a mess. And they had no plan of how to handle it, And they said, well, we got 7 years of abundance. Let's party because it's going to be over after that. That'd have been crazy. What if they'd just sit around and started, oh, well, there's a disaster coming. It's over for us. And they did nothing to prepare. What about you? What if you're getting older every day and one day you want to retire, but you have no plan or no provision for the future? What if you're a college student? You're in college and you have a career and your whole life work ahead of you, but you have no goals or plans to get you there. Years ago, I created what I call a vision board. I was at my parents' house one night looking around the walls of their house, and there's all these pictures on the walls. Just great pictures, memories, nothing wrong with memories. Memories are good. I mean, my high school graduation picture, my senior picture from high school, still on the wall at my parents' house. I graduated high school, goodness, 8-9 years ago, something like that. My brother's wedding is up there, the first one, and our trip to our family vacation to Washington, D.C., all these pictures, wonderful pictures all over the walls, wonderful pictures of the past. There was not one wall anywhere in my parents' house, or not one picture anywhere in my parents' house of the future, only pictures of the past. And I started thinking about that. If all we're looking at is the past, where's my vision for the future? And so I created a wall in my house, which I call my vision wall. I call it my dream wall. Some people call it a vision board. But on that wall, all I have are things I want in my future. Where I'm going, not where I've been, but where I'm going. And there's all kinds of stuff you could put on there. How many have got someplace you've always wanted to go on vacation or take your family? Let me see your hand. Yeah, just about all of us do. I always wanted to go on the Disney cruise. I wanted to do the Disney cruise. I thought that'd be awesome. So I cut a picture of the Disney ship out and I put it up on the wall. One day, going to take my family on the Disney cruise. I wanted to have a little TV studio at my offices, with some cameras, a little studio, because I love to my real passion is creating coaching programs and resources to help you. Some of you invested in the 40 Days of Favor program. That's my passion, creating those. We had 40 minutes this morning. That gives me 40 days with you to really get into the subject and really help you to grow. So that's my passion. Speaking, that's nice. I enjoy it. It's fun. But it's really to help get the resources to you, to help you to continue to grow and become everything. So I wanted a little studio, so I cut pictures of all the stuff out and I put it up on the wall, little cameras and all that kind of stuff. I wanted a tour bus. I don't even know why I wanted that. Anyway, I cut one out and put it on the wall. I wanted to give $100,000. I wanted to do well in my business where I was able to give $100,000 to my church. How many like to be able to do that? Put me down for $100,000. That'd be awesome. Pastor, put me down for $100,000. I heard about a church, got a phone call. The assistant answered the phone. The guy said, I'd like to speak to the head hog at the trough. I said, excuse me? Are you talking about our pastor? He said, that's what I'm talking about, the head hog at the trough. She goes, that's rude. That's our pastor. We don't talk about him. Can I help you with something? He said, yeah, I heard about the new building you guys built. I just wanted to make a $100,000 donation. She said, well, hold on. Let me see if Porky's in. I wanted to be able to give $100,000. So I wrote a check to my church for $100,000 and I put it up on that wall. One day, I'm gonna give $100,000. I wrote void on it. Okay. Yeah. In case my pastor came over before I was ready. You probably heard about the two guys got stranded on the deserted island. And one was just all frantic. He's like, we got to get help. What if they never find us? Make a fire. We got to make fire. Make palm branch. Make SOS signs. We got to do something. We got to get help. The other one said, we'll be fine. Just went over and laid down under a palm tree. He said, what are you doing? He said, what? You got to help me. We got to get help. What if they never find us? He said, don't worry. He said, we'll be fine. I'm a tither. He said, what do you mean you're a tither? He said, my pastor will find us. So I got all this stuff on my vision board, on my wall. One day I'm gonna get there. So planning is essential. I've got a picture of where I'm going. You can't leave where you're at until you decide where you'd rather be. So where am I going? Where am I headed in the future? So I got all these pictures, and I could go through the whole thing now. Because that was my first dream. Well, I got different things. I just did my 11th Disney cruise, so that's not up there anymore. I got some other dreams now. The tour bus. I had the tour bus. It was amazing. I bought the Backstreet Boys tour bus. It's crazy. It's just a crazy favor. This guy had one, and he had the Backstreet happened to have the Backstreet Boys bus. I didn't know it was the Backstreet Boys bus. I just knew he had a bus. And I was like, those things are over $1 million new. Even used are $200,000 or $300,000. And he said, you know what? If you'll pay off my Cadillac, you can have the bus. I was like, what kind of Cadillac do you got? And he said, just an Escalade. I bought the Backstreet Boys tour bus for $35,000. Crazy favor. I'm like, I'm gonna be famous. Get the Backstreet Boys tour bus. You don't feel all that famous. You got to drive yourself around in the bus, They got a driver. I'm going to drive myself. One time my uncle drove, though. That was pretty cool. It was like I had a driver. I had like 4 guys with me. I spoke down in Miami. We were on our way back. We pulled in this restaurant. Big old tour bus pulls in. Then 4 guys, 5, we get off, all dressed coming. They're like, we walk in the restaurant. They're like, are you guys famous? And I said, yeah. I did. I repented because that wasn't true. But I just wanted to be famous once, and they're like, I knew it. Who are you guys? I'm like, oh, shoot. Yeah. We were big in the 80s. You probably won't remember us. We were just, they're like, come on, who are you? I'm like, oh, we're just hanging tough. We're the new kids on the block. They're like, oh my God. Yeah, I was going to tell them we were New Edition. Yeah. I didn't think they would believe me. I said, Mr. Telephone Man, something wrong with my line. Said, cool it now. Anyway, like Ronnie, Bobby, Ricky, and Mike. Okay, some of y'all don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I sold the bus. I ended up selling the bus, and I sold it to a guy from Alaska. I live in Orlando, Florida. I sold this big old tour bus on eBay. And this guy flies all the way from Alaska, buys the bus. It was crazy. He was a shaman priest. I didn't know what a shaman was. He got there, he's a shaman priest. We were talking for a few minutes. It's like a Native American religion. It's kind of like a witch doctor. Yeah, it's what it is. He's nice, just a little weird, But anyway, he bought it, and he paid a lot more than $35,000. Thank you, Jesus. I hugged him. I'm a hugger. I'm like, thank you. He's like, hey, don't squeeze the shaman. Listen. Planning is involved in everything we do. So planning's critical. We're much better when we have a plan. We're much better when we have a plan, when we know where we're going. Plan ahead. It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark, right? He planned ahead. He had a plan. So let me be clear. Sometimes we plan and things just don't turn out the way we planned. How many of you ever had that happen to you? You got the whole plan and just turns out, well, when that happens, we need to look closely at our plans. Were they our plans? What part did God have in the planning? Maybe he wasn't all there in the plan. That's why I said both those, as believers, we understand we need to plan, doesn't take the place of praying, and praying doesn't take the place of planning, but we need both of them together. And so when you put that together, it brings us to the fourth point. Planning brings progress. Planning brings progress. If we are planning to succeed, the plan will include your progress as well as the best pathway to achieve the goal. So always keep goals for yourself, your organization, whatever it may be, which you want to achieve. And those goals and the subsequent planning that goes with them will always lead to progress for the organization. And the progress of the organization is the reason that planning is important for management or the head of the organization or whatever it may be. Along with promoting progress, there are clear rewards for planning. Let me give you three of those. Three clear rewards for planning. Rewards for planning. The first one, planning eliminates stress in difficult seasons of life. How many like to get rid of some stress? We don't. None of us want stress. So planning will eliminate stress in the difficult seasons of life. We all know how it works. Imagine just for a minute, your family's going to go to go see the Warriors play basketball, right? They're going to go see the Warriors, and if you plan ahead, you pick the game that you want to go to. Maybe you pick it because the other team that's playing is like, oh, I want to see those two teams play together, whatever it may be. And then what do? You reserve your tickets. You get your tickets. Maybe you get a parking pass. I always like to buy a parking pass because that relieves stress from me. I don't have to wonder, where am I going to go? Where am I going to park? I got a parking pass for the A section. I know where I'm going, and I can get there. So you do these things. You're going to a large arena, so maybe you plan your meal ahead of time. And we'll eat before we get to the arena. And maybe we'll stop and eat because hot dogs are like $18 at the arena. And then you maybe plan maybe you get a ticket that has food with it or whatever. But then you inform your family of the schedule, what time you're going to go, all that kind of stuff, all that plan for the night decreases the stress, right? Of saying, what time we leave? I don't know what time we leave. If I'm planning, to go on a trip, I tell my wife, we have to leave at 6:15. I plan ahead because we don't have to leave till 6:30, but I want to make sure we leave at 6:30, so I tell her 6:15. What about your business? What about your family? What about your life? You gotta have a plan. The quality of your preparation determines the quality of your performance. Great concert pianists, they invest hours practicing, playing and practicing and playing before any concert. Before the crowd, all they hear are the results of the preparation. We're like, man, they're amazing, man. Like they just walked up and started playing like that. No, it was hours and hours of preparation. We see a team that's awesome. Well, they play, they plan, they practice, and they've gotten ready. And so we're seeing the great part, but they took years of planning and preparing and preparation. So the quality of your preparation determines the quality of your performance. And then lastly, proper planning guarantees completion of any project. Proper planning guarantees completion of any project. Heavyweight boxing champions plan weeks before they have a fight. They don't just go, hey, you want to fight tomorrow? Cool, let's go. No, that's high school. If you're gonna be the heavyweight boxing champion of the world, you prepare. They know that it's the only difference between winning and losing. Joe Louis, the great boxing champion, said a champion doesn't become a champion in the ring, he is merely recognized in the ring. He becomes a champion way before that. His becoming happens during his daily routine. What you do daily is what you become permanently. Number five, let me give you another one. My goodness, this time's going fast. Number 5, planning is motivational. Planning is motivational. In business, a good plan provides various financial and non-financial incentives to managers, to employees, to whatever. Those incentives motivate them to work hard, to achieve objectives of the organization. So planning through various incentives. How many have ever worked at a company where if you accomplish this, or you get this many sales, you get a bonus, or if you're the top salesperson, you get to go to Hawaii on a trip or whatever. How many know what I'm talking about? So we got some incentives. So it becomes motivational. Now I've developed a plan because I'm motivated to reach the incentive. So in life, we see the same patterns. When our plans have a built-in reward system, we are much more inclined to stay on task or to stay in the program. Anybody ever been on a diet? Let's see here. Anybody ever been on a diet? Did your eating plan, anybody's eating plan include a free day? Have you ever had one of those ones? Or a treat day? Not a treat a day. A treat day. I got that mixed up. Why is this not working? I thought it was a treat a day. I read it wrong. But I start exercising. I get up every morning, run around the block 2 or 3 times, and then I put the block back under my bed. But one of the famous diet plans was Body for Life. Body for Life. How many heard of that one? Body for Life. In that, it had a free day. Once a week, you could eat the foods that you've been craving. So this plan had a lot of success, and had I talked to a number of Body of Life participants, and I believe they were motivated not only in transforming their body as an overall goal, but also being by that short-term incentive of having that one day to relax and enjoy the food that they wanted to. So it made the other days not as difficult because they knew that one day was coming. So they had an incentive, so it motivated them to keep moving in the right direction. So I encourage you to motivate yourself with incentives. With incentives, like if I accomplish this, then we're gonna do this. If we can get to this goal in our business, then we're gonna take these 2 days and go over and stay at the Ritz-Carlton, or whatever it may be. So it keeps you motivated, those necessary to maintain momentum and ultimately to achieve the goals that you want to achieve and accomplish. Number six, planning clarifies decision making. Planning clarifies decision making. A manager makes many different plans, then the manager selects or may choose the best of all the available strategies. So same with us personally in life. Making a selection or choosing something is decision making, which is directly facilitated by planning. Whenever you have a marketing plan, if you've ever done a marketing plan or something like that, you know what you want to achieve in a given time frame. So at the same time, you're clear about what the future holds for you and what your ultimate goal is. So this ultimate goal, which has been decided by planning, makes your decisions more efficient and to the point. I know where my goal is, I know where we're going, so now we're developing the plan. It's easier for me to make decisions because I know where we're going. If I don't know where I'm going, it's hard to make decisions on what I should do next or how to develop the plan. So decision making becomes so much easier when you have a plan. I've got a new book just finished recently on decision making because it's all part of that process. And how many have ever made a bad decision? Yeah. How many like to make right decisions all the time? So you understand, if you know where you're going, it's easier to make decisions if you have the plan of where you're going. So why not make life a little bit easier by having a plan? It's like following a map. It's much easier to select the best route when you have a plan of where you're going. And life is like that. If you have a plan, what you want to accomplish on a given day, your decisions on how to spend your time that day is easier because you have the written plan. And number seven, planning is achievable. Number seven, planning is achievable. When we have just looked at the importance of planning and all that, but does it really work? Does having a plan really work? It's nice to write it all down and prepare it all and do all that, but is it really gonna work? Again, we can go back to the Bible. Don't wanna leave you hanging on that story of Joseph, but if you go back to that story of Joseph, read verse 53, the 7 years of abundance in Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began, just as Joseph had said. And there was a famine in all the land, but in the whole land of Egypt, there was food. When all Egypt began to feel the famine, the people cried to Pharaoh for food. Then Pharaoh told all the Egyptians, go to Joseph and do what he tells you. And when the famine was spread over the whole country, Joseph opened all the storehouses and sold grain to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe throughout Egypt. And all the world came to Egypt to buy grain from Joseph because the famine was severe everywhere else as well. So the plan he had to save a part of that every time, put it away, so when the famine came, because here's the thing, in life, I found this in life, I've had seasons where financially I've done amazing. And I've had seasons where I've had a little bit of famine. How many have ever had those kind of seasons? But during my years of abundance, when the swing is up, man, things are going awesome. I follow this plan right here financially myself. I'm saving, I'm putting away. So when a season comes, it's low, or a season comes where there may be a little seem like famine, I'm fine. I can handle it because I planned financially so I can walk through that season. And I mean, it's right here. It's scriptural. So we saw that the plan worked. Here's the plan. During the abundance, we save. During the famine, we'll be okay. So he worked the plan and he saved the nation. We all need a daily routine that is part of a workable, achievable plan. 3 simple steps to help you follow to create your plan. 3 steps. Number 1, determine your goal. Number 1, determine your goal. What is it you want? Like I said, you can't leave where you're at until you decide where you want to be. Where do you want to end up? What's your dream? Where could you be in 10 years from now? Where do you want to be in 10 years from now? Where are you going? Imagine going on an ocean cruise to an island. The last couple of years, I've done a transatlantic cruise. One year I took a ship from Florida across the Atlantic to Barcelona. The next year I took it from Barcelona back across the Atlantic into New York City. And so could you imagine getting on that ship and you're on the ocean? After about a week, the captain says, well, it sure seems like we would arrive somewhere by now. I mean, we're just driving. I don't know. When do we plan to arrive? I don't know. It seems like plan. Actually, I didn't have a plan. I just started going. I just thought we'd find land somewhere. I don't know. I just trusted God to guide the boat through the wind to the right direction, the right destination. A lot of Christians do that. Well, I just see where I just land wherever I end up. And we just blindly go through life waiting for it sounds ridiculous, but a lot of people do that. They drift through their life the same way. They make no plans, and yet they believe they're going to reach their destination. But I think it was Zig Ziglar used to always say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Now, second thing, write down the steps it will take to get you to your goal. That written word, when you write down your goals, you dramatically increase the likelihood of you accomplishing them. Just by taking a few minutes to write it down. What I'll do is I carry 3x5 cards. And in the morning during my meditation time, my prayer time in the morning, I'll write down my goals every morning on 3x5 cards. I rewrite them every morning. And so I see them, keep putting them in front of me. Write the vision, make it plain. Write it down, put it somewhere where you can see it, and feel free to go back and adapt it or modify it, make it work for you. Because you're gonna find things are gonna change. So you don't get so strict on your goals. That's why I'm not really into huge long-term goals, because how many would say your definition of success today is different than your definition of success was 5 years ago, right? And 5 years from now, your definition will be different than it is today, because things change, seasons of life, all those kind of things happen. So you got to be willing to adapt your goals along the way, modify your goals. When you write down your goals, you dramatically increase the likelihood of you accomplishing them. Third thing, identify and do something each day that moves you closer to your goal. That's easy to say, it's hard to do. But I found that it works for me. I keep a notepad on my desk in my home office, and before when I'm home, before I go to bed each night, I'll mentally review my day. I'll go back over my day and write down at least one thing that I'd done that day that moved me toward my goal. Like I said, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you build a skyscraper? One brick at a time. So if there's even something little you could do each day to move you the right direction. And I write that down because it really serves two purposes. Number one, it makes me conscious of my daily actions, makes me conscious that I am doing something that day, move me in the right direction. And number two, it gives me a list to review at the end of the week, at the end of the month. It's encouraging to me. I take time to reflect. I think it's so important that you take time to reflect. At the end of the day, I take a few minutes to reflect on that day. What did I learn today? What did I see today? Where did I go today? What did I do today? At the end of the week, I take an hour. What happened this week? Where did I go? Who did I meet? Who did I talk to? At the end of the month, I might take a day. At the end of the year, take a weekend. Reflect. Take time to reflect on what it is you've learned, what it is you've accomplished, what it is you're seeing. Don't just rush through life all the time. Planning is achievable. It's critical, but you have to decide to do it. You have to want to be more than you are today. I mean, if you don't want tomorrow to change, and you got to want to leave a legacy. You want to have a desire to make an impact. You have to want responsibility. You want your kids to be respectful. You got to want respectful kids. If you want your kids to be responsible, you got to want responsible kids. I mean, you want to have a rewarding career. You want to make a difference in life. It's never going to just happen. It's never enough just to say it. You got to plan it. You got to plan it. So planning, scriptural planning is essential. Planning is achievable. Well, look at the scripture. Proverbs 16, verse 3. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. In one of the versions, I'm not sure which one, says, commit your plans to the Lord, and he will cause them to succeed. How many want him to cause your plans to succeed? So when you commit your plans to the Lord, he now can cause them to succeed. So the first step is to commit. Commit all your plans, your goals, your dreams, whatever it is you do. Commit your ways to the Lord. Start by letting God be the foundation of what you're trying to build. And then those built-in resources begin to help you to accomplish your goals and accomplish your dreams. And a couple of resources that will help you with that. One is that book I gave you this morning, I think, that Planted. If you didn't get that book, it's a great book. It's free. It'll help you. All you got to do is text the word planted to 25827. It's a free resource just to help you to grow and to learn. We've got a podcast called Success Made Simple. It comes out every week. It's about 5 to 10 minutes of just free coaching. You can go to davemartin.org, sign up for that, or go to the iTunes podcast thing. It's really grown. We just recently started it, and last week we were at number 19 in all podcasts. We hit number 19, and so it's doing really, really well. And just some free resources to help you on the website. We got a free 5-day coaching thing on there, and then the other one is this game plan that I told you about the book. I think they got the game plan. Yeah. There it is. It's called Another Shot. That's the book, the Another Shot book. But I developed a game plan to go with it. And this will help you. We've been talking about planning tonight. And if you need some help with that, this will help you do it. It's a 30-day program that I designed to really help you develop your plan. And I asked some people to join me along the way for the 30 days. We'll spend every day together. We'll have some workbook pages you'll write down and some different things like that. And there's a personality profile in there that you'll take. But at the end of the 30 days, what I love is you actually have a written plan of what to do next. When I'm coaching people, that's one of the first things people ask me, what's the most important thing I can know? I said, the most important thing you can know is what to do next. And it's real simple to figure that out if you have a plan. And so I asked some friends to join me on this 30 days. And you can see some of the coaches that joined me along the way. Joel Osteen, the day we talk about attitude, I asked Joel Osteen to join me that day. And I said, Joel, would you be my coach on that day? And he said, I will, Dave. I'll be glad to help you in every way I can. And so Joel joined me a couple weeks ago. I was in Miami, speaking at this church, and they had my books in the bookstore. And because I was the speaker that day, they filled all the top shelves with my books, and they moved Joel's to the bottom shelf. So I took a picture and sent it to him. I said, look, Your books are on the bottom shelf, mine are on the top. Just wanted to mention that. And he said, Dave, I believe my books will rise to the top shelf. I'm the head, not the tail. I'm the top shelf and not the bottom shelf. Anyway, we got this whole plan here. And again, it's like the one I had this morning. It's a little USB. You'll plug it in. Let me show you this video. It kind of shows you how it works. But what I love about it is at the end of the 30 days, you actually have a written plan of what to do next. How important is that? So watch this. Let's show you a little bit of an idea of what it is. Welcome to the 30-day game plan. A game plan for rebounding in life, a game plan for winning in life. I'm Dave Martin, your success coach. Why is my attitude so important?
Your attitude is so important, Dave, because it can determine, how high you're going to go in life.
Coach, thanks again for joining us. Why is preparation so important?
When I started coaching, there's a great coaching mentor of mine. He told me this quote, the separation's in the preparation.
Conflict can really help us grow.
Oh, it's the greatest gift. If there is no conflict, there is no growth.
Yeah.
You need the conflict.
You're only one decision away from a different life.
Yes.
Ooh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And it can be a better life or it can be a worse life.
Right.
One decision.
The greatest investment you could ever make is the investment you make in yourself.
You're the one who will decide what you're going to do with the rest of your life.
The more you put into life, the more you get out of life. The greatest investment you'll ever make is the investment you make in yourself. And that's so important that we invest in learning, growing. I told you about the meeting I was at, the guy named Peter J. Daniels. I went to the meeting. He was doing better than I'm doing, so obviously he knew something I didn't know. And I had the opportunity to invest. I bought everything on his table, $1,600 worth of stuff. Started listening to it. Man, I got this idea. I got that idea. That was great. I got this one idea. The billionaire Ross Perot said all it takes is one good idea to live like a king the rest of your life. I bought that $1,600 program. I got one idea. I got a lot of ideas, but I got one that I put together. I sold the idea. Within about 8 months, this idea produced me a little over $300,000. Say praise the Lord. Y'all a little jealous of my blessings, aren't you? Okay. Yeah, you'd be happier if it was yours, I'm sure. How many would be happy if you had a $300,000 idea? That's what I thought. How many would be happy if you just had like a $50,000 idea? You just take that. How many just hope you have an idea before you die? Just gotta hope. I think it's something. You always invest in what you find valuable. And so we put this little program together. Like I said, if we brought the whole big box with all the stuff, it's if you go to my website and try to buy this, it's $297, it's $300. And I brought it on the USB drive, just plug that in. This has the book, Another Shot, the hardback, the book, the ebook's on here. It's got the audio book of me reading the book on here. And then it's got the 30-day plan with all these people. Lee Cockrell, the guy you saw last. Lee, you might not recognize his name, but Lee ran Disney World in Orlando, Florida. All 4 parks, 18 resorts, 50,000 employees. 13 years he oversaw everything there at Disney. How many think he probably knows a little something that could help us? So if you tried to hire all these people, it's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars. If you tried to hire them, you probably wouldn't be able to hire them to spend a day with you. But because there's some friends of mine, I got them to join us. We'll spend a day with each of them. They'll help us to really accomplish our goal and reach what we're trying to do. So anyway, I just brought a few of these with us. And I'll do it just like I did this morning with the other one. If you didn't get the Force of Favor, the 40-day plan, that's $100. This one's same thing, just $100, and you can get the whole program and say thank you. That's a really good deal. I don't even know if I should do that. You should probably wear a mask when you go back there because you're robbing me. It's such a good deal. It's just to get that whole thing for just $100. Anyway, it's not for everybody, but it's just for everybody that wants to do better. And then there's a few of these left, the Force of Favor book. I hope you picked up a copy of this. This is just an easy read, incredible book, but it really is simple. It helps you understand favor. And like I said, there's the whole 40-day program, but if you can't get that, don't leave without the book. Trust me, I believe it'll really help you. You can get a book for $20. You can get 2 of them for $30. And the other one so you can give to someone else to open a door of favor for you. You sow favor into someone else. And so I'm just helping make it easy for you. So 2 of them for $30. I think there's only about 15 of these left back there. So both of those are back there, and we take checks, cash, credit card, first class upgrades. Anyway, it's all back there, and it will it'll help you to make that investment in yourself. But just before we go, how many agree that planning is a God thing? Having a plan is a God thing. I hope I've explained that to you. And we all need a life plan. So my goal really tonight was to expose you to the concept and that the way to do anything, to be anything, to achieve anything has to start with a plan. You can win. You can succeed the rest of your life. Say that with me. Say the rest of my life will be the best of my life. Yeah, you're made in the image of God. I mean, he did not make you just to drag yourself to work every day and just kind of get through life waiting for Friday so you can eat and watch TV and grow old, but he made you for a purpose. He has a plan for your life. He knows the plans to prosper you and for you to succeed. And so you got to do your part in the process. So get out there, find it. It's never too late. It's never too late to start. My grandfather got saved at 75 years old, went back to college, got his contractor's license at 77, was elected president of Habitat for Humanity, started helping other people build houses to help other people at 77 years old. So it's never too late. Never too late to have a plan. Colonel Sanders was in his mid-60s when he started KFC. Morgan Freeman was in his 50s when he got his first acting job. I'm thinking about doing that myself. So you're never too old to get a plan, to get your life moving in the right direction. You're also never too young either. Never too young. Well, I pastored a church for a short time. One of the biggest givers in my church was a 14-year-old boy. One of the most generous people in my church, 14 years old. He designed something. He sold it to Apple and made millions of dollars. This little kid, there's a big article on him in People magazine. And I'll never forget, one day we were taking up a missions offering for something. He came up after church. He said, "Hey, Pastor, did we get all the money we needed for the project?" I said, "I think we got pretty much everything, maybe $700 short or something like that, but it's a big goal we were trying to reach." He said, "Well, I want to make sure we get everything." I said, "I appreciate that, buddy." You know, he's 14. He said, "Listen, Pastor, tomorrow when I get out of school, I want you to stop by my office and I'm going to cut you a check for that other $700. 14 years old. I was there at his bus stop waiting for him. But anyway, let me just, as we close, let me pray for you real quick. How many have a goal? Some of you want to do, some of you want to accomplish. Maybe you've been thinking about that tonight, that one thing, business you want to start, a relationship, whatever it may be. Let me pray for you, and then I'm gonna. I'll come back in the back if you want to sign books or sign your USB, that kind of thing. I'm gonna stop back there for a few minutes, and then I'm catching a red-eye flight back to the East Coast tonight. So pray for me. I'll be praying for you. And let me just pray for you. Father, I just thank you for a group of people that would take the time on their Sunday night, a lot of other things they could do to invest this 90 minutes in themselves, to come, to learn, to grow, to get information, wisdom that would help them to succeed. Father, your plan is success for us. You said if we commit our plans to you, you'd cause them to succeed. So you plan for our success. If we'd plan for our success, it's amazing what we could do and what we could accomplish. And in this room are many people, some have personal goals that they're thinking of. Maybe it's a weight loss goal or a healing goal in their body. Lord, other people have goals to start businesses. Other people have businesses and they have goals of what they're trying to accomplish or where they're trying to get for retirement or whatever it may be. In this room are a lot of different people, a lot of different goals, a lot of different things they're thinking right now. But Lord, we thank you for giving us the Bible, the greatest success book ever written. And no matter what it is we need, negotiations, sales, time management, or planning, it's a Bible thing. It's all in your word. Your principles are there to help us to succeed. And so, Father, as we follow your principles, many tonight will invest in this program, the game plan, to really help them develop and hone in those principles of planning to achieve great success. But Lord, let us remember, it's not about us, it's about you. And whatever our success is, Lord, let us not just be a success, but Lord, let us be significant. Let us make a difference in what we do in life. Whether it's a mechanic, whether it's a doctor, whatever we're doing, Lord, what we do make a difference in someone's life. Let our success be an example, a light to someone else. Let it never be about us, but let it always be about others. And when we make it about others, it's amazing what you'll do through us and for us. We thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. One more. How many got at least one thing that helped you tonight? At least one thing that helped you tonight. I want 3 people real quick before we close. 3 people, tell me one thing. Just one thing that you got tonight. You said, because here's the thing. It doesn't take a lot of keys to start your car. It just takes the right key. So one thing could be, you know what? That's what I needed to hear tonight. That's going to help me.
Healing.
Healing. Yeah, to plan for your healing. You can plan to, you eat better, whatever it is. You get ready. Plan. Someone else you got tonight.
Planning and non-procrastination.
Don't procrastinate in your planning. You got to know where you're headed, what you're trying to accomplish.
If you plan to fail, you fail to plan.
That's a good one right there. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you got to have a plan. You got to have a plan.
Do something every day.
Do something every day. How many, that one kind of jumped out at you there? Even something little you can do. How many the vision board, the vision wall kind of jumped out at you a little bit like, oh man, I got to get a picture of where I'm going.
Very insightful. Some of the things that you said, I did not know were in the Bible. So very insightful.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, a lot of these we don't understand. There's a big difference between the person of Jesus and the principles of Jesus. The person of Jesus prepares you for heaven. The principles of Jesus prepare you for earth. A lot of times we don't know this stuff we do on a daily basis, negotiation, planning, all this stuff's right there in the Bible to help us. And if we can dig it out there, that's why people who don't think God's into success, I don't understand that, because the whole Bible is a book of success.
Commit your plan to God.
Commit your plan to God. I mean, that's one of the powerful things. One more, just right over here in the blue. Just shout it out real quick. Yeah, reflection. Take time before you go to bed. Just think about that day. What did I learn today? What did I get today? At the end of the week, take a few minutes. Write it down so that you can go back and you can remember it, and it will help you to learn and to grow. Anyway, hope you'll get this. Remember, everything you do back there, when you invest in yourself, you're also investing in the kids in India through Vision Rescue in Mumbai. I love that. It's a great program. We bought a few buses. The buses are about $20,000 to buy. They cost about $500 a week to run one of these buses, but it'll go right into the slums. And what I love is the kids get on the bus. First, we feed the kids to take care of their natural hunger. Second thing, we educate. It's the only formal education that a lot of these kids will ever receive. Right there, the bus turns into a schoolroom. And then the third thing is we tell them about Jesus. It becomes Sunday school, so it takes care of their spirit, man. So body, soul, and spirit, all of them taking care of one thing.